walkie-talkies a small amount of radio chatter. And the radio chatter specifically was saying that there are casualties, and I think if I'm correct, I did hear at one point more than one casualty that they did say, and then they also said, please shut down all radio traffic at that point. And then I heard like nothing from their radios, that they must be going to some sort of, frequency to be able to deal with that sort of situation. And then they kept all the runners for a while. And the runners built up, and there were thousands of people behind me at that point, Shaq. The runners built up for maybe about an hour before they could figure out a way to set some sort of a plan to get these thousands of people that were, literally a half a mile away, that had already run almost 26 miles, pretty good, and some of them were pretty tired and pretty rough shape, to get them to their loved ones and their family members, to get them to the baggage area so everybody could try to get their phone, their BlackBerries, to try to get in contact. A couple people who run with them had them, but there was absolutely no service at all. Nobody could get in contact. So that's basically from my side of it, Chef. We didn't really. It's the first time I've actually heard very little of what happened. So I don't know much of the actual physical story. My sister was actually at the finish line waiting for me, and I couldn't get in contact with her. So, which I finally was able to get to my wife, and she was able to let me know that she was okay, and she heard the third boom in addition to the second. And at that point, we figured out a way, and then we're now about a mile away from the scene, and we're just trying to figure out a way to get out of Boston. And a lot of people are at this point to try to get to their homes and other establishments.
Well, selfishly, Jay, we're all very glad to hear from you, sir, and glad that your wife is safe and sound. Take care and good luck.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Jay Sirocco.
I thought to everybody everything.
Thank you. Jay Sirocco, a terrific producer and journalist for this network, who with his wife was in Boston today. He was running that marathon. His time was a little slower than he had hoped, it sounds. We're all very, very thankful for that. Some updates on matters of interest. Police are asking everyone in Boston to stay home. Do not travel in any large groups. These are just some matters that are coming out of Boston city government and the police department. The Boston Bruins, the hockey team, has canceled tonight's game versus the Ottawa Senators. The commissioner, Ed Davis, says the blast. I said earlier, I'm now informed. Imagine speaking extemporaneously over a period of time, and you're going to make mistakes. As a New Yorker, I said the JFK Airport, and that was, I did not mean that. I meant JFK Library. The JFK Library explosion was at 4:30 p.m. It has been announced as an unrelated explosion, but is actually an explosion that could be related to the Boston Marathon explosions. At this point, we do not know. I'm getting new information in right now, and this is coming through. A person of interest is now in custody. As the New York Post newspaper, which is owned by the parent company of this network, was first to report, Fox News has now confirmed that authorities in Boston are in fact guarding a person of interest who is currently on a hospital there. The person has severe burns. Our sources say that authorities have yet to determine whether he was a victim or a perpetrator. This is not that unusual. Anybody who for any reason might raise any suspicion in the aftermath of such a thing would be watched over and held for questioning. I'm confident there will be a number of persons of interest. We've already found controlled detonations of devices that may or may not have been explosions. We know there was an explosion at the JFK Library, which is not far from the scene of the explosions at the end of the Boston Marathon. We cannot confirm, as authorities said, whether it's related, but as the police commissioner said a short time ago live on our air, you will draw your own conclusions whether they were related. Some other news items that are coming out of Boston right now. I mentioned the cancellation of games and police asking everyone to stay home. Much of Boston is on lockdown, according to the reports that we're getting from the Boston Globe, the Boston Herald, and our own sources there. They've set up a perimeter around an abandoned Penske truck. There had been a search for a Penske truck. For what reason, we can't know at this point, but we know there had been one. And Whether they found that Penske truck or not, and whether it is in any way related to this scene, we can't know. But we know there's a Penske truck surrounded not far away. Jonathan Hunt is also bringing in new developments as they happen. Jonathan, what do you know?
Shep, we're also hearing via the Boston Globe now, and